What's up? You remember this car, don't you? Okay, so lots of times I do these videos and they're kind of topical. They have a beginning and an end, and they have one subject matter, I guess you could say. But in this case, I've been working along on this Dart, and I haven't really had a video. Anything that I've done has been really like stands on its own yet, because I've sort of had to be jumping around to different things because of time constraints and parts constraints and things like that. So I thought I would just run through this video and try to do it all in one take, hopefully, and kind of bring you up to speed on this car and what's going on with it and where I'm at with it. So let's start with that, shall we? Okay, so we got the engine out of it. The engine's over there. The engine's been done for quite a while. We'll take a look at it here in just a second. But I came back in here and I cleaned up this engine bay as well as it can be cleaned up. I scrubbed it down and used some CLR to get as much of the rust off of it as I could. But I decided that I was not going to do any kind of restoration on this because, it's going to be a driver, as I say. And I've already done one of those, and I just don't right yet have the capability to do a real good job on that. So I'm just going to leave it like it is because it's got some interesting marks in it that, of course, we got Larry over there, 12, 9, and 68. And then back here there's a paint mark, inspection mark, and there's a couple more hiding around in here too, I think. So I just, it's okay. It's all there. I'm just not going to mess with it. So that's where that's at. I did come back and scrape all the grease and grime and crap off this K-member, and then I actually went back and just for my own entertainment, I duplicated the marks I found on it. There was a big white splotch on one of the pads for the motor mount on the left, and then there was a big blue dot that's kind of looks as bright as it looks there, but I duplicated that and duplicated the overspray. That's exactly how it was there. The rest of it I left alone. So I went and gave it a grease job, and I got to check the front end out a little bit further. Haven't had a chance to do that yet. And then what else did I do out here? One thing I've been doing is going through all these parts and screws and stuff and just freshen everything up. Excuse my shop. This is the way my shop gets. I'm sort of a person that, I don't put everything right back up. I just kind of work on things, and I throw garbage in the floor, and then I come back like tomorrow. I'll probably come back and just clean up and straighten up and get it all back together. But it's just the way I am. That's really over here to show. Oh yeah, there is something to show you. I was doing all that, and one thing I was doing was I was working on, this is the idler pulley for the air conditioner, and I was working on this. I was going to put a new bearing in it because the bearing didn't sound good when I turned it. It's kind of making some noise there, see if I can. So the bearing's done in there, but the problem is this bearing is in a blind hole, and it has this stud here, and I think it's kind of swedged over the top to hold the bearing in, so there's probably a way I could get that out with some effort, but I don't know yet how to do that. So that's on the back burner, and I'm sure it's a common bearing. There's no problem there, but they make these. This whole thing is not in very good condition, but they make these. They reproduce them actually, but they're about $65. So I haven't decided if I'm going to go that route yet or not. But I've been went through a bunch of screws and bolts and stuff down there. It's not even worth it. I don't think I went through those yet. I've got to start on those again. But guess what? Another Cheez-It box. I think this is the bolts. These are the bolts for the radiator. And like I'm just going through some of this that needed. Some of this didn't have to be cleaned up because it's going to be hidden where you won't ever see it. But like I redid this. This is another idler for one of the belts. I think that's the air conditioner belt also. But did that, did the breather, oil breather, and did the spacer for the radiator fan, and the battery tray and hold downs and stuff like that. That pivot, bolts and stuff, just painted. I've got all this stuff labeled. So that's what I've been spending a lot of time doing. I went through the distributor, freshened that up, and put a new coat of red paint on it. That distributor was painted in the engine. That's the way it came out. A lot of people say, well, we're not doing that way, but this one was. So the air conditioner is all apart. I've got the pieces to it. I just went ahead and took everything off the car because, the way it is, if one part of it's bad, the rest of it's liable to be bad. So I got another piece of linkage hanging over here. I have the radiator cleaned up and flushed out to the best of my ability right there. So we'll see if it's any good when we get it in the car. We'll find out. Of course, here's the engine, and like I said, I hadn't really done anything else to this. I had it just covered up, and I had to take this cover off because I was doing another operation here. And let me just say, along with that normally I'm not a person that bounces around from one thing to the other like that, but I've had to wait on parts and time and stuff like that. So I'm not ever going to get anything done if I just sit in there and wait for something to happen. So I have to come out here and make it happen. So I've just been working on whatever, just kind of going to one thing, and then when I get to what's going on back here, get out of here. When I run into a stopping point, I get on to something else and hope I can remember how it all goes back together. So I painted the fan. I resealed the try that again. I painted the fan. I resealed the transmission, put all the seals in it, put a filter. It looked good inside, wasn't anything worth even showing. So hopefully that transmission's fine. And started in on the dash cluster in preparation to actually take the dash out of this car because, I always laugh because Old Car Alley seems like he and I draw some parallels on the things that we have to do with these cars, and I'm going to have to take the dash out of this one. Also, I had planned on that because that's going to be, I planned on it because it is in decent shape, but it's got some surface rust going on over here at the top of it, and you can't deal with that with the windshield in. I mean, there's a couple things have to happen. The windshield has to come out to get the dash out, because in contrast to Howard's car, where he could get to the bolts along the top of the dash there from inside with the windshield in it, Mopar stupidly made this so that they're hidden in here. So you have to get the windshield totally out, or you can't get the bolts out. Some people have managed to turn them out, I guess, from the bottom. Just get a pair of channel locks on them. I'm not doing that because, as you can see by that big bullseye there, this windshield is no good. So here we go again with another windshield. I ought to be getting good at it after this. But here's the biggie, what I've been working on. You can see these black spots on the floor. You can't see it because the light's washing out. See that, and that, and that, and that. Well, if you were to bend your nose down to that and smell it, which I don't advise, but if you were to do that, you would smell awful, terrible, rank gas, the worst ever, death gas, and it came out of this fuel line. This is the fuel line out of the car. This is the entire front to rear fuel line in one piece. That's the back end of it down there somewhere. And so what's going on here is this sucker is plugged up solid. And I'm attempting to unplug it. I don't know if I'm going to have any luck with this. I'm going to tell you now, it's probably not only going to be a fail, but it's going to be a complete fail. But I'm not going to give up until I have to. So I've been sitting out here with a torch. I've been giving it some heat therapy, trying to burn it out, which has not really worked. The reason I tried that is because I had to do the same thing to the carburetor lines. The lines that go from the fuel pump up to the carburetor, they were plugged up too. So they're short, and I managed to burn them out and clean them out and got them going again. But this thing, I'm not going to be disappointed if it fails to happen, but I want to succeed with this for a couple reasons. Number one, it's the original fuel line, and it's nicely bent better than I could do with my material over here. And it's not rusted out or anything's wrong with it. It's just got crap in it. And the second thing is they're like $85 for a new one. I about fell over when I saw that. About $14-15 for shipping, because you can see how hard this thing is to ship. I mean, if this thing's gonna come in, one piece, you can believe that. So probably what it is, they've probably reduced the shipping artificially on the price of it and just added that back into the cost of it. So it probably costs about $30 or $40 to ship the thing, because that's oversized. I don't know how that would even get here. I mean, it'd have to come FedEx, but I see a lot of potential pitfalls with that idea. So here's what's going on with it. Is I have this piece of fuel line up here as sort of a additional reservoir, and I've been pouring. I just started tonight with. I've tried another approach here. I'm pouring in acetone with it. I pour it in my little squeezy bottle down there, and then I squeeze it into this up to the top, and I'm going to let it sit, because it will break. If you work at it hard enough, it will break that stuff up. I don't know how many days or weeks or months or years this will take, but I'm going to keep working at it, and I'm not going to cut the line in 2 or 3 pieces to do that. I'm just not going to do it. So we're just going to go at this, and then, like I said, it'll either be a win or a fail. But I call this acetone injection. That's the injection port right there. So we're just going to, day after day, for probably a week or so, we're going to let this thing sit. Maybe even longer than that. I don't, where am I going with this car? I got a car. So, but the thing is that has to go back in before the engine can go in. So that's got everything until something is resolved with this situation. The engine ain't going in, because I had to fight that thing out anyway. It didn't come out very easily, because it goes through the cross member, and then you have to take the rear wheel off back there. So that's a good idea. This will give you a good idea why you see stuff sitting around my place with wheels off of it and on a jack stand and pieces here, pieces there. It's because, I just simply go until I can't go anymore with something. I have to quit for a little while until I succeed with what I'm doing or order parts or something. So anyway, I think we'll cut off in here and we'll go in the house, and I'll show you what's going on in there. So it's cold out here. Find my flashlight. Here it is. It's right by the acetone injection unit. Okay, don't know if you can hear me over my loud 25-year-old washing machine, but there's the air conditioning compressor off the dart, which is blown up. And so that'll be a someday thing. Not right now. Not worried about it right now. But there it is. Okay, so here we are in what I like to call the inner sanctum. Technically this is the spare bedroom, but I use it for parts processing and other things, part storage. So we got a lot of things going on here. Got a couple alternators that I'm waiting on an alternate. By waiting, I mean I haven't bought it yet, but I'm waiting on a good used eBay diode and rectifier tester, so I can test all this and these things, make sure they're even any good. Some hoses and belts for the car, the Dart, my grandmother's sewing kit when the button falls off. Some random stuff, that's alternator that I put together for the Dart, some Dart parts. My buddy there sent me that trim and stuff. That's that. And then over here I have the activity table. So what's up over here? Let's check it out. I know you can still hear the washing machine. That's because it's right over there behind that wall. Okay, so I got the cluster apart on this thing, and as you may recall, Old Car Alley Howard has been doing that also. He's got his back together. So I like fooling with these things. They're pretty interesting. This one was in good shape, but it was hard to get out. But it's in pretty decent shape that I can tell, but when I tested it, nothing worked on it. The gauges worked, but no lights worked on it. So turned out that I had several. We'll look at one side of it, but this is one of the circuit boards is bolts on back there at the back of it. And turned out I had a lot of green crusties on stuff like that. So cleaned that all up and got the lights to work again. But I found a couple interesting tidbits here. These are the bulb holders. And if you're wondering if I actually had these plastic bulb holders 52 years ago, the answer is yes. Yes. Okay, where are they at? Here they are. Okay, so I had all the bulb holders. They were in there present. I know some of them were loose. So I was looking at them, and one of the tabs on a few of these were broken. You see where my finger is? That's one of the little pieces there. Right there, that thing. That's what holds it in, that piece of plastic where my thumbnail is. Well, they're broken. So I don't know how they got broken, but they're broken. There's 4 of them are broken, so that's no good. And then it didn't have any, when I was in the car, I was testing it, and it did not have any dash lights. But what would happen is, you have to just picture this because I didn't film it, but when I try to test the dash lights, the left-hand turn signal lamp would illuminate, and it would go up and brighter and dimmer with the dimmer on the headlight switch. So I don't know what that was about. It's probably something because of these bad contacts in here. But when I took the 4, that's funny because this Dodge cluster has 4 dash light bulbs. The Valiant only has 3. What do you want? Get out of here. So anyway, when I took out the illumination bulbs for the cluster there, the backlighting, where those blue things are, those diffusers, they're all blown out. And you see how they're silver? Now, that's highly unusual because it was one of them was blown out, or maybe even 2 of them blown out. I can understand, but I've never seen all of them blown out like that. Especially, it looks like a pretty violent. So when it's all silvered like this, that means it got probably got overpowered, over voltage to it. And I can tell you the only thing that will cause that is that the voltage regulator stuck on it at one time, probably is what happened, and it overcharged, and somebody pulled on the headlights or had the headlights on when it happened, and then it shot the bulbs in it, and they didn't feel like trying to fix them because I can tell that cluster had probably never been out. So anyway, that's that. I think it's got another regulator on it now, but we'll see how that's working. But anyway, I took the instruments out, and they had I've got to replace the foam little gaskets on them because they all fell apart. Seals them in, so I got to do that. And what else? I got to paint the needles. The paint that I was using for the needles is not the right color. This is the color they are on the Valiant, but these, being a Dodge, I don't know if it shows up very well. Probably need to look at this one. It's more of a fluorescent reddish orange, so that's what I ordered for it. And so I got to repaint that. Whew. And then this is the front of this thing, and it's in not too good a condition. It's just like Howard's assembly, but over here you may be able to see right there above the fuel there's a stain coming down right there. It's discolored that fuel, and I'll tell you what that stain is. That is mouse urine, because the top of this thing is, I've cleaned it up, but I have to repaint it because it's all kind of discolored and stained, especially right there. This cluster, I've got a clip of that. I'm not going to put it on this because it's disgusting. I may show it later, but this cluster had filth on the top of it like you wouldn't believe. It was about a ½ inch thick with mouse droppings and nest and fur. I've still been picking fur out of this thing. It's just awful. I hate stuff like that. So anyway, I may actually end up looking around for a used cluster for this, but they've gotten kind of expensive. We'll see. All right, guys, that's the little stream of consciousness video here on everything that's going on with the Dart. So you know what I know now. So I sure thank you for hanging around, and We'll keep fighting a good fight with this stuff. See you around. Bye bye.